What is the sentence building? What is sentence building? Sentence building refers to how you structure your sentences. Sentence structure is the way a sentence is arranged grammatically. The sentence structures of your writing includes where the noun and verb fall within an individual sentence. Being able to construct accurate sentences enable us to express our idea in a clear and coherent way. Sentence structures are an integral aspect of both written and spoken language. Without them, how will we communicate? بناء الجملة يشير إلى كيفية تركيب الجملة وترتيب الجملة قواعدياً. طبعاً ترتيب الجمل هو جزء ما نقدر نجزأ عن تعلم اللغة المكتوبة والمنطوقة. بدونهم ما راح نقدر نتواصل. There are three types of sentence structure. Sentences give structure to a language, and in English they come in three types: simple, compound, and complex. When you use several types together, your writing is more interesting. Combine sentences effectively. It takes practice, but you will be happy with the result. These types include simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence. A simple sentence uses just one clause, whereas a compound sentence uses two or more independent clauses, while a complex sentences feature at least a single independent clause, as well as at least one dependent clause. What is a simple sentence? A simple sentence is a sentence that consists of just one independent clause. A simple sentence has no dependent clauses. An independent clause, unlike a dependent clause, can stand alone as a sentence. طبعاً الجملة البسيطة تتكون من جملة واحدة تكون مستقلة تامة المعنى. مميزات الجملة البسيطة: a simple sentence is not always short. It includes a subject and one verb. For example, Jack likes walking. The simple sentence maybe it has a compound subject. ممكن الجملة البسيطة تتكون من فاعلين. For example, Jack and Jill like walking. A simple sentence could also have a compound predicate when two or more verbs share the same subject. ممكن الجملة البسيطة تتكون أو تتضمن مفعولين يعني فعلين لنفس الفاعل. For example, Jack likes fishing and hates hunting. Jack likes walking and fishing, but hates running and hunting. Jack is still the subject of two verbs, likes and hates. Be clear on when to use a comma before and. Look at some example. Jack likes music and loves poetry. Jack likes chicken but hates turkey. These are examples of simple sentences with compound predicates. In each example, there is one subject governing two verbs. Note that there is no comma before the and or the but. نلاحظ هذه الجملة بيها فاعل ومفعولين. الفاعل اللي هو جاك والمفعولين اللي هي likes and loves. فمن استخدمنا and أو استخدمنا but محتاجين نستخدم الكما لأن الجملة الثانية هي جملة تابعة للجملة الأولى وتحتاج الفاعل. With a compound predicate, the second half of the predicate cannot stand alone as a sentence because it doesn't have its own subject. Loves poetry is not an independent clause. That is why there is no comma before and. Compare the two examples with these sentences. Jack likes music and he loves poetry. Another example, Jack likes chicken, but he hates turkey. These two similar, but they are not simple sentences with compound predicates. طبعا دول المثالين هي مو جملة بسيطة وبها مفعولين. But there are two subjects, Jack and he, each governing its own verb. These are examples of compound sentences. In this example of a compound sentence, he loves fish is an independent clause. That is why there is a comma before and. Use a comma before an and, but, or, etc. and that joins two independent clauses. Clauses that could stand alone as a sentence. When a simple sentence has compound predicate, don't separate the subject from a second verb with a comma. طبعا نستخدم الفارزة قبل but و and في الجملة المركبة وليست البسيطة لأنه ما نقدر نفصل المفعول الثاني عن الفاعل لأن قلنا المفعول الثاني إذا بدون الفاعل فراح يكون جملة تابعة راح يكون جملة تابعة ناقصة المعنى. What is a complex sentence? النوع الثاني عندنا هو الجملة المعقدة. A complex sentence is made up of an independent clause and one or more dependent clauses connected to it. A dependent clause is a clause that doesn't express a complete thought. طبعاً dependent clause المقصود إنه هي ما تقدر تعبر عن فكرة متكاملة. A complex sentence is made when a main clause and a subordinate clause is joined with a connected. Example of dependent clause, while he waited for the drink. Also, they share some similar properties. These are two examples to make complex sentences clearer. When I was in school, I used to give flowers to a teacher that I like a lot. And this, when I was in school, and that I like a lot are dependent clause. I used to give flowers to a teacher is an independent clause when and that are two subordinated conjunctions used here. We are looking for a place where we can set up our office. This is another example. In this, we are looking for a place. It's an independent clause, whereas we can set up our office is an independent clause, where a subordinated conjunction used here. In complex sentences, the clauses are connected by subordinated conjunctions, which used to link an independent clause to a dependent clause. A subordinated conjunction provides a bridge between the main clause and the subordinate clause. Complex sentences are completed with the help of subordinated conjunctions. Subordinated conjunctions are mainly words that connect an independent to a dependent clause. Some of the subordinated conjunctions are such as because, although, how, once, though, until, before, even, if, when, where, while, and many more. The role of the subordinated conjunctions and the dependent clause is to establish a time, for example, when it is ready, or to establish a place where they live, or to talk about a reason, condition, such as if it rains, I'm staying in. A concession or comparison for the main clause. This is example, you will definitely lose. This can be considered independent clause. If this sentence can stand alone, while if this is subordinated conjunctions, and the second sentence, you don't try, this can be considered dependent clause. Because if we say, if you don't try, this sentence is not complete sentence. We need to connect with the independent clause. For that, we use subordinated conjunctions. Notes about complex sentences. You can construct a complex sentence by including the dependent clause first, followed by the independent clause. من ضمن الملاحظات إنه تقدر تكتب الجملة التابعة أولاً وبعدها تذكر الجملة الرئيسية اللي تحمل معنى كامل. For example, when I told him that I was resigning from the job, he was shocked. You can also write the independent clause first, followed by the dependent clause. وأيضا تقدر تكتب الجملة الرئيسية وتتبعها بالجملة التابعة اللي ما تكمل معنى الوحدها مثل ما ذكرنا اللي هي dependent clause. For example, he was shocked when I told him that I was resigning from the job. When a subordinate clause functions as an adverb starts a sentence, separate it from the main clause with a comma. But when a subordinate clause ends a sentence, you can drop the comma. إذا كانت الجملة تبدأ بالعبارة الثانية راح نضيف الفارزة بين الجملتين، وراح بهذه الطريقة راح نحدد بداية الجملة الرئيسية. أما إذا إجت الجملة الرئيسية في البداية فما يحتاج نستخدم الفارزة. What is a compound sentence? A compound sentence is a sentence that has at least two independent clauses joined by a comma or a semicolon or conjunctions. An independent clause is a clause that has a subject and verb and forms a complete thought. مثل ما ذكرنا أنه independent clause هي عبارة تتضمن فاعل وفعل وهي راح تشكل فكرة كاملة، على عكس dependent clause. For example, he cried, she wrote a poem. A compound sentence joins two main clauses and a connective. The clauses are linked by connectives. For example, this house is too expensive and that house is too small. This sentence is a compound sentence because it has two independent clauses. This house is too expensive. This is the first clause. And the second one, that house is too small. In a compound sentence, the clauses are connected by coordinating conjunctions. There are only 7 coordinating conjunctions in English. They are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. For example, the train was late. This independent clause. I took the bus. This, the second one, independent clause. So, coordinating conjunctions. So هي من أدوات الربط اللي راح تربط بين الجملتين المستقلات. The train was late, so I took the bus. The train was late, so I took the bus. Independent clause number 1 plus coordinated conjunctions plus independent clause number 2. Example, I shouted at my parents last night and I feel terrible now. In this, I shouted at my parents last night, as well as I feel terrible now, are two of the independent clauses which are combined with the help of the coordinated conjunctions. The second example, Ronnie does not want to do engineering, but his parents are forcing him. In this, Ronnie does not want to do engineering, as well as Ronnie's parents are forcing him to do engineering, are two of the independent clauses which are combined with the help of coordinated conjunction, but. Notes. Notes, comma helps to link compound sentences. To make a compound sentence, the semicolon is also used. It tells about two completed thoughts which are related to any idea. You should use a semicolon when the independent clauses are related, but contrast in a way that you want to stand out. He said, He didn't mind if I stay home. It soon became clear he wasn't being honest. In the sentence, the contrast is that the person being talked about in the first clause sound honest. When he said he didn't mind if the speaker stayed home. But in the second clause, the speaker is telling you that the person being talked about was not honest. What is the difference between compound and complex sentences? Independent clause and dependent clause. There is the difference that lays in the number of clauses, independent and dependent. In compound sentences, at least 2 independent clauses are used, but a dependent clause is not required. من ضمن الملاحظات انه الجمله المستقله والجمله غير المستقله. في الجمل المركبه على الاقل انه تكون عندك جملتين مستقلات موجودات وما يحتاج جمله تابعه ضمن الجمل المركبه. While only one independent clause with at least one dependent clause is used in a complex sentence. بينما الجمله المعقده تحتاج جملة مستقلة وحدة وياها جملة تابعة. Conjunction. In terms of conjunction, coordinated conjunctions is required to combine 2 clauses in combined sentences. But in complex sentences, subordinated conjunction is required to combine 2 clauses. To identify a compound sentence, you should look for conjunctions such as and, nor, yet, or, but, etc. On the flip side, look for subordinated conjunctions such as although, because, since, whenever, before, and many more to identify the complex sentences. Beginning of the sentence. To begin a compound sentence, coordinated conjunctions is not used. On the other hand, at the beginning of the complex sentence, subordinated conjunctions is most required. So it can be concluded that compound sentences and complex sentences seem to be the same, but they are not. But the word which connects sentences can be called as the key to difference, because that conjunctions makes the whole differences. This was our lecture for today. Student, do you have any questions about sentence building?